Hey guys, it's Kuno again. We're getting on to Shmumbler's run for Dread X Collection 2, and then after that is his also run for Soap Percent, so stick around for that, and we will be moving the torch onto Shmumbler, so everyone give him a big warm welcome. Moving the torch onto Shmumbler, so everyone give him a big warm welcome.
Alright. Hey everybody, this is Shmumbler, bringing you the second Dreadx collection. This is going to be a collection of 12 little indie horror games, kind of wrapped together in a nice little anthology-style bundle, just like the good old VHS tapes. So, without further ado, I'll go ahead and count us down, and we'll get started in 3, 2, 1, and go. So you'll notice starting off, I'm going to come over here and open this door. Technically, this door is unlocked by having all the achievements in the game, so technically this run is always going to be a New Game Plus run. But that's to the end. We're going to make sure to actually go through all of these games first, though. And right now we're kind of just getting a little info dump about the story for this game, where we're infected with this weird alien mind virus that's been causing everybody to mutate and die and all sorts of nice, horrible stuff. So we're going to try to stop that. Alright, so now we got our first key, and we'll go ahead and go into probably the black sheep of the bunch, which is Squirrel Stapler. This game is quite a trip. It was made by David Zemansky, which everybody might recognize as one of the developers of Dusk. And it is a huge RNG fest. But what you're seeing now is I went ahead and backed out of the TV to start with, and I'm coming to the door because after you play your first game, this door gets unlocked. But I want to go ahead and go through the voiceover that happens before unlocking the door, and then as soon as this door unlocks, I'll go ahead and tab over to the game. And let's see, should just be a few more seconds. Alright, so that white light there tells us that the door is unlocked, so now we're going to hop in. And here's Squirrel Stapler. So, general idea of this game is we're this hunter out in the middle of the woods. We have our wife with us, who's a lovely rotten corpse with no skin. We're gonna give her her skin back by hunting squirrels and stapling them to her. And like I said at the start, this is a big RNG fest. There are some things that we can do to kind of manipulate the spawns of the squirrels, because as it stands, how often you find the squirrels is just pure random. So you'll see me having some kind of erratic movements and looking all over the place. That's because there's a few different things that go into determining whether a squirrel should spawn, and there's one. But the biggest thing that determines whether a squirrel will spawn is your noise level. So you'll see... It spotted me. That's not good. And I missed. That's also not good. Okay. Squirrel Stapler is being Squirrel Stapler and giving us a rough start. Oh, and another one spawned right to our left. Wow, it's really just not even giving me a chance to explain. Normally you don't see me running this much. When you alert the squirrel, they run away, so at that point you kind of have to run. Like this one saw me through the mountain for some reason, but it's stuck in the mountain, so we got lucky. But usually I'll be walking, because running prevents squirrels from spawning. You'll see up in the top left corner, I have the little noise meter. It's at a 3 right now. When I'm walking, it's at a 2, or really more like a 1.5. But the louder you are, the less likely it is for squirrels to spawn, the more likely predators will track your location. All sorts of wonderful things. And let's see, this is going to be squirrel 4. The hitbox is in the way. And I forgot to reload. There we go. The other thing is squirrels tend to spawn where you're not looking, so the more you look around, the more space you're giving it to spawn. Which sounds really weird, but I promise it does actually help. Alright, we only need one more for the day. Also, I'm sorry if the shots are loud. I do have to play this game on a really high volume just so that I can hear the squirrels spawn in. They make like a little leaf crunching noise. Oh, you little bugger. Oh, hi. Alright, now we're going to do our first little abuse glitch where we're going to restart the day after collecting all the squirrels that are required. So what happens here is the game accidentally sets a checkpoint when you get all of your squirrels. When you restart the day, it really just restarts you to that last checkpoint. So it spawns us in the cabin at the end of the day, and we can just go to bed. We don't even have to staple the squirrels to our dead wife like we would normally do. Anyhow, day 2 introduces a new mechanic, and that is the big squirrel. Every time I press F, I'm going to make this obnoxious squeaking sound. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to run around the entire map, hoping to get a response. This can take a while. Fortunately, there is a set path that I take to maximize the area that I can hear the big squirrel from. So hopefully it won't take us too long. But in the meanwhile, you may have noticed while I'm going through these woods, I often run past some notes on the ground. There's a couple different types of these notes. Some of them, or one set that changes each day, is a set of stories. One of them is oh, there's the big squirrel over here. One of them is a set of logs from a scientific research center. And the rest are squirrel facts. And so, wow. I did the only thing that I felt would be a reasonable use of our time here in Squirrel Stapler, and that is collecting all of the squirrel facts on a nice Word document that I have printed out next to me here. So if I ever get a moment of downtime, which so far I haven't, I'll have plenty of facts to give you all, such as squirrels can survive a fall of as much as 30 feet and can jump up to 20 feet in the air. Squirrel fact. Anyhow, let's see if I can get a spawn going. One thing that can happen too that is always really unfortunate, oh, there's one, is a squirrel can spawn but be far enough away that I don't hear the noise that usually comes with it. Shh. They are really testing me today, aren't they? There we go. And so, if there's a really long period of time where a squirrel doesn't spawn, usually that's why. Man, I haven't even gotten to the hard part of this game and it's already trolling me like crazy. Oh, another thing that you'll probably find later. There's actually a random chance when you're looking around like this that your wife's body will spawn right next to you. It usually gives me a good jump. I'm not hearing any spawns. I do hear a ghost. So, yep. The ringing you hear in my ear is that little translucent blue guy over there. They'll come chase after you if they detect you and do 1 damage. By themselves, not really that big of a deal. Oh, there's a squirrel. So there you go. I didn't hear this one, so that's kind of what I was talking about. Alright, I only need 1 more. 1 more and the day is done. Alright. Well, while we're waiting for another squirrel to pop up, we've got plenty more squirrel facts. So how about... This one's one of my favorites. Did you know that in 2007, 14 squirrels were arrested in Iran? Squirrel fact. There we go. Last one spawned in. Perfect timing. And you're right over there. Gotcha. You know, all this talking about squirrels really has me going back to my college days. Our college had a pub on campus, and they had really good chicken wings. Honestly, I probably went there a lot more often than I should. Well, one day, I got my chicken wings, and I was sitting out on the balcony, studying. And then, you know, just happened to look over. There's a squirrel sitting on the rail next to me. That little thing stole one of my chicken wings and was munching on it, just straight up. Alright, so day 3 is where things start getting dangerous, and we've got a really bad start. You hear the growling in the back, right? That's a squirrel bear. Squirrel bears do pretty much all of your health is damage except for one. So, if you get hit by one, you're in a real bad spot. Of course, Squirrel Stapler, being the wonderful, generous, kind-hearted thing that it is, decided to spawn me right next to 2 of them, so I'm having to take a different path than what I normally do. The worst part is when you get hit by a squirrel bear, even if you just get attacked by a squirrel ghost after that, it's still death. Alright, so you're kind of towards the middle, so I wasted some time, but not a huge amount. Yeah, so the squirrel ghosts, I saw one on day 2, but they're actually, honestly, pretty easy to avoid for the most part. You can hear them from a pretty good distance too. Alright. Got the big squirrel. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention about the big squirrels. They are kind of random, but they aren't random in the same way that the other squirrels are. They spawn from the moment your day starts. Where they're located is random, but they're perpetual. You just have to find them. Squirrel bears, they're also random. There can only be so many on the map at a time. But Lord help you if they spawn right where you are. Oh. I thought I had you. And a good thing to note as well with the squirrel bears on the loose now, every time I fire a gun, it's a signal for the squirrel bears saying, hey, I'm over here, and they will home in on your position. Alright, I hear one. So you'll notice that now on these last 3 days, I'm going to be pretty much stationed in an area where I can get health and ammo. That way, if I do get ambushed, I can deal with it. I can't see you through that bush at all. That's great. So, chasing squirrels like this is generally a bad idea, because they can just continually run away. But it's so hard to see them in the bush that sometimes it's better to just chase them to a new area. And I missed. Boy, I thought I was speedrunning. They are detecting me like crazy too. They aren't normally this perceptive, I swear. Alright, one bullet, one squirrel. One bullet, one squirrel. We've got this. Typically what I'll say is a 5-minute day or less is a good day. So far, we're like right at that margin. Maybe a little worse. But I actually recently set a new record with Squirrel Stapler just the other day and completed it in 22 minutes and 19 seconds. This is not one of those days. Anyhow, that's day 3, so now we're going into day 4, which is the toughest day, because unlike the others where I was starting with 2 squirrels in my poison pit, this one starts me off with 1. You would be amazed at just how much more difficult it becomes when you have to hunt 1 more squirrel. Alright, hopefully I don't get bombarded with the bears as soon as I come out again. Remember what I just said? It's okay. Alright, well, while we run away from this squirrel bear, how about another squirrel fact? Did you know squirrels have urine release valves under their eyes and urinate on each other's faces to communicate? Now that's a squirrel fact. Alright. Another squirrel fact. A male squirrel can smell a female squirrel in heat from up to a mile away. That one's still a little interesting, but not quite as juicy as the others. I'm saving the real extra special ones for the last day. Or trying to, anyway. There we go. Oh, you're in a perfect spot, too. I love you. Come on, big boy. Where are you at? Oh, I see you just through there. If my mouse will cooperate. I swear this is the most boring run in the run. That sounds weird. Alright, there's a squirrel bear somewhere out here. But that's okay. As long as it's only one, we can deal with that. We're right next to some health. Also right next to ammo if we need it. I'm gonna go ahead and... oh, there's a squirrel over there. Alright, well, I guess that kind of benefits us, because I didn't see it. Perfect. Go collect that. I hear another one. Maybe two. Hey, that one actually didn't see me. Alright. Let's just need two more for today. Oh, hey, there's my wife. See, I told you it would do that. I hear a ghost. Oh, there's you two. I heard a squirrel, but I don't know which direction it was in. There we go. One more. Gonna go get some health just in case, because that ghost is a little too close for me. This game really does have a mind of its own. Every run you do in this category is kind of just at the mercy of the squirrels. Which, as it should be, I suppose. That tree is just too wide. Alright, there's day 4. Final day, and we're only 2 minutes below what would normally be considered a good run. Wonderful. Alright, so now that we're in the last day, things are kind of back to normal. We're still being chased by squirrel bears. We're still getting the big squirrel. We're back to having 2 squirrels in our poison pit, so we only need to find 3. But God is coming today, and that is a very important meeting that we do not want to miss. This is unreal. Wow. Well, while we're escaping with our lives yet again, let's go into some of the juicier of the squirrel facts. And I'll start us off with this delectable little morsel. Did you know squirrels delight in causing pain? Oh, another one. Right over here. Cool. We're going to trigger you and get the health that's over here. Another one. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and lure you out. Since we already started this way, we have to come to this corner just to be safe and not miss a big one. over there. The worst feeling in the world is when you end up missing a corner and the squirrel ends up being in that corner. See? Good thing it came over here. Anywho, moving on. Did you know that squirrels can also debone a human male in under 3 hours? Or, how about, squirrels can regenerate lost limbs, although it can take a few years to do so. There's a ghost over here too. Hi. Oh cool, you guys got to see a ghost. Oh, thank you for spawning. I was getting worried. So like I said, normally chasing a squirrel is not great, but when they come to the wall like this, they kind of get trapped. So in this case, chasing them can actually be really good. Alright, 2 more. Thankfully there's some ammo over there. If I'm lucky, I can get a squirrel to spawn before I get to the ammo and take it out. Also, ironically, this is probably one of the safer days because as soon as you get all of your squirrels, all predators despawn. The game really doesn't want you to die before you meet God. The spawns are just not happening. I have a guest. I'm sure you can't see her on the camera yet, but you will. Still no spawns. This is getting a little crazy. Oh, there we go. Where did I hear you? Over here. One more. That's all I need. One more and we can be done with this. Alright. Well, here's an ironic squirrel fact that I feel like is not quite true this time around because I'm finding woefully few squirrels. But there are more squirrels than you have bullets, and you have made him very, very angry. Alright, so one last thing before we meet God. I do want to point out the hunter's character model. Now, I'm not 100% certain on this, but given everything I've seen about this game and given how everything else in this game has been, isn't that color palette and that texture awfully reminiscent of something? It sure does look like our hunter could be, in fact, a squirrel man, doesn't it? Also, where I go at this point doesn't matter. God will come to me regardless of where I am. I just like to climb mountains. Also, I do have ammo left, so I will be shooting God in the face. No hard feelings. And now let us sit back and enjoy the crescendo. And that squirrel stapler. Alright, now that that flaming pile of garbage is out of here, we can actually get on to the rest of the run. So now we're in the hub area, which is a spooky house, and we're going to be solving puzzles to collect keys to unlock the rest of the tapes or games. So we're going to come outside here, grab a couple body parts, a couple painting scraps, you know, nothing too out of the ordinary. We do actually have to be really careful with this too, because it's surprisingly difficult to pick up a severed leg while running at full speed. Gotta solve a little puzzle here. Shoutouts to Midsummer. This really heavily reminds me of a scene from that game. Also, I promise it isn't always this laggy. That just happens sometimes. Alright, now we're gonna do more experiments with blood where we have to counterbalance. Grab that key, grab this potted arm. Now, time to play a little tune. I was really worried with it lagging that I was gonna end up hitting the wrong body part. Alright, now to change the time. Alright, gonna come up here, pull the lever, open the door, pull the lever, open the door, come upstairs if the lag will allow me to, knock off all the legs, gonna flip these projectors a few times. Alright, go down here so they fall over, grab the key. Also, oh, he's not there. Alright, well let's stop at this window then. He's not there either. Oh, what a shame. This lag is actually making it really hard to do this. Typically I'm like going back and forth between the body and the other interactable things in this room because you can only interact with the body so often, and that ends up giving you plenty of time to do the other stuff. Now it's just taking a long time to do anything. I don't know why the hub house gets laggy like this either, because the rest of the games don't, and this game is not really any worse than any of the included games. But anyway, got that key. I'm gonna put the completed painting up there, and that's the last key. Now we just gotta grab all the tapes. Doesn't really matter what order you unlock the tapes in, because they're always in the same order on the TV anyway. I used to go a different route, but this way just feels a little smoother, even though I do have to turn this table to get to the back corner for Toy Shop. Alright. 3 more tapes to go. Accidentally turned the lights on, no problem. You would think all the extra shadows would make it perform worse, but typically no. Alright, so there's all the keys and tapes collected. Now we're going to go into our second game, which is Sucker for Love. And this is a visual novel that I'm sure most people here have probably heard of. But we're going to be trying our best to swoon Lynetta, the Eldritch Deity. Or we would, except this is a visual novel, and death counts as an ending. So we're not going to date her at all. Instead, we're just going to summon her eldritch monstrosities, get ourselves killed, and move on. You also have to be really careful doing the chance, because if you go too fast, it will actually tell you that you went too fast and make you start over. Alright, so we did our first summoning ritual, which brought Lynetta into our world. Now we need to turn off the lights, and this is where you actually need the sink. We didn't need it before. So this summons all of the mad chaos into the world, and now we just look out the window, and we're dead. Alright, going into Charlotte's Exile. Oh, that was a gold split. Well, going into Charlotte's Exile, this is a game made by David Zamansky's brother, John. And it's a nice little puzzler where you're basically trying to save your wife from Nyarlathotep. But the thing about puzzle games is they're very easy. They're very easy when you know the solution. And I messed it up. It's actually faster to go ahead and start over than it is to fix the puzzle. And we do go for the true ending here instead of the bad ending, because the final cutscene is, I think, one text thing less, or there's a little extra cutscene, so it ends up losing time to do the bad end. Wait for that to hit the credits. Alright. Going on to Undiscovered. This is going to give us a choice between 2 explorers, Marty and Janet. I'll probably pick Janet just because she's my favorite. But we're going to be exploring some kind of Native American ruins. Probably Aztec, but basically we're going to go in with a camera, try to say that we're the first people to explore it, find out that's a complete and utter lie, and then get ourselves killed. This is also an interesting game in the collection because it's the only one that tackles the concept of second-person perspective. So you'll see that I'm controlling Janet, but in actuality my perspective is of the cameraman, who in this case is actually Marty. The person that you don't select is the one who holds the camera. And so I'm controlling the movement for Janet, but the camera is its own separate entity following behind me. This is actually, in the case of the speedrun, kind of a bad thing, because moving diagonally is quite a bit faster than moving in a straight line. But we can't really take advantage of it because the camera is always directly behind us no matter what. So in lieu of that, we just have to go at our nice snail's pace and just mash through the text whenever it pops up. There's a couple little skips, but for the most part, this is kind of a walking sim. One fun fact I can throw out there, since we are kind of on a trivia streak from Squirrel Stapler. So I mentioned that their names are Marty and Janet. Well, this happens to be a reference to Patrick Starr's fake parents in SpongeBob. There's also a secret room in the temple here where you can actually go into a disco party and see a bunch of other Torpelduk characters. Always a fun time. Alright, just gotta come down some stairs, see a giant spooky scary skeleton, and grab our tools. Because for whatever reason, we've never stepped foot into this ziggurat. But our tools are already in here. Alright, grab that. Go ahead and pull out our torch right away. And we're actually coming up on the one little bit of speed tech that is in this game that really only saves like a second at most. So we're going to come over here, and there's going to be some unlit torches that we're going to have to light ourselves to reveal a secret passage. But while you're in the torch lighting animation, if you mash through the text, it actually unsticks you from the ground and lets you move. Thus, you can continue to move towards the other unlit torch while that animation is playing out. That's why I said it only really saves like a second, because at the end of the day, you still have to redo the animation to light the second torch. Alright, coming up here, we have to switch to our pickaxe to break through the wall. Unfortunately, the pickaxe is also very short range, and you have to be right up against it. I don't know why. Oh no. We'll come back to that. That's never happened before. So what happened there is I accidentally read the note, and then the game wouldn't let me stop reading the note. So somehow I managed to soft lock. So we're going to go into the toy shop. This is a really interesting game. When the collection first came out, this was hands down probably my least favorite one, because there were some issues in a specific platforming section that we will see in a little bit. But thankfully that got fixed. And the game is now 10 times better. But to start, we're just going to run around, flip some switches to get an elevator running. There's not a whole lot to speak of here except for jumping over stuff there to avoid a jump scare. This is a really simple and straightforward section. Alright. Also, you're probably asking why, if I'm jumping over the first set of boxes, I'm not jumping over the second. And that's a surprisingly simple answer. If you try to jump over the second box, you get stuck on the ceiling and you don't actually make it over, which makes it slower than just jumping the first one and then side strafing the second. Now this section, there's a bunch of enemies all over the place that are asleep. We have to be sneaky so as not to wake them until we pull that, which opens this safe area. But instead of sneaking, we can just jump over the floor because they can't hear us if we're in the air. And that makes it where we don't have to slow down at all. Really nifty. Alright, now is, in my opinion, probably the most difficult part of this run. And that's the platforming. So, the reason this, well, not the reason now, but the reason this was so difficult is because you see that it ties me into a 2D plane of movement. Unfortunately, it's only me that gets tied to the 2D movement. There used to be an enemy up on the second floor that was incredibly difficult to get past without landing on top of it. And if you landed on top of it, it would jump to the side and take you off of the plane that you're required to be on those platforms. And you would fall to your death and have to start this entire segment over again. So very glad we don't have to do that anymore. Also, you just saw me collect a bunch of severed limbs and a jump upgrade, and then I missed that jump because that is really hard. But this allows me to jump probably 3 times as high as I usually could. There we go, there's a good jump. And now, this platforming section, usually pretty difficult, but if you know where to jump, you can just skip 90% of the platforms. No big deal. Come down here. You're supposed to push this plank over to form a bridge, but you can just jump the gap. Get a quick glimpse into the true nature of the man over there. And then the final section. Now, if everything goes well, I should never need to pick up any health or ammo. But things never go perfect. This is legitimately really hard. So we're going to come through here. Up ahead is kind of a chase sequence where we're going to be getting chased by an indestructible robot that insta-kills you if it catches you. Let's see if I can get the running shot. No, I did not. That's 3 ammo gone. Great. Ooh, that guy didn't hit me. That's always nice. Alright, here's the chase sequence. Thankfully, the robot is actually pretty slow. Otherwise, this would be a nightmare. 2 shots. Oh. 1 shot. We're doing alright so far. You'll see there's the robot way back there. We're in a good spot. Alright, now there's a second robot chasing us as well. Alright, now I'm starting to get concerned about ammo. And I got caught. That's okay. That resets our ammo, so this might actually be for the best. Alright, there we go. Our ammo is really tight. I think I'll be good. Yeah, I think I'll be good. We'll keep going. I will pick up health, though, just to be safe. Alright, this is a boss battle. So all these guys on the platform, they don't move. They just stand there. So the only way you're going to get hit by them... Ooh, that's loud. That's louder than it usually is. But the only way that they're going to hit you is if you jump directly into them, which I am apparently doing quite a lot of. Now the other thing is, there's a giant robot and 4 little robots. All of the robots will insta-kill you. So we're trying to avoid those. And we got caught. That's alright. This is one of the more difficult runs in the collection, so I kind of figured that we would have trouble with this one. hasn't happened before either. So fun fact, where the big robot goes is pretty much completely random. Usually he just kind of goes somewhere not even near you and you don't have to worry about him for the entire fight. That time he actually went directly into my path. Man, it's almost like the game got patched so that it would be more difficult for me. Alright. Almost done. That is very dangerous when he sends the robot flying into the air like that, because if it flies directly towards you, it does kill you. That is a nightmare that has happened before. Alright, we're almost done. We got one more to shoot up here. Now all we have to do is survive, shoot the little girl. And lo and behold, turns out we are actually the awful person. All of these people were just normal citizens and civilians that we just murdered in cold blood because we're implanted with some kind of chip in our head, thanks to our Eldritch Master that makes us see normal people as monsters. Alright. Arcade Letra. This is another kind of walking sim type game, though you can actually really optimize the movement with this, just making sure you are going the right path, minimizing the amount of wait time between the different, I guess, chapters you could call them. Okay. Starting to think maybe it's my computer that's doing bad things instead of the game. Alright, so this game is made by the developer of the Tamore games. It's, like I said, kind of a more of a walking sim type game. There is like some variations in how you can make the route go, but for the most part there's only really one way that's fastest. Generally what this is all about is, as you see here, we're in an arcade. And it's haunted. Also, there's this weird hole in the ground that seems to be electrified. And what I was referring to as chapters is the different arcade machines, they each have their own unique sequence. This coming to the window here is just what happens after the first arcade machine, regardless of what you pick. And once this is done, what we're going to do is we're going to come back to this desk, get attacked by the thing, turn around, because the next step is to go to this corner directly in front of us to walk into a shadow. And the reason this sequence is fastest is because the yellow arcade is the only arcade that puts you in a position that close to that corner.
Cold and dark, wet and lonely. I can't stop shaking.
Also, this game should serve as a sort of parable in a way, that you should never stay in a haunted arcade because some random nice voiced lady is calling to you. That's never a good sign. Alright, last arcade machine. This one. So, there's one bit of speed tech you can do here. Well, not speed tech, but one bit of really precise platforming you can do here, where you can go from this raised platform to the first step over here, thereby skipping having to jump once. It saves like maybe half a second each time you do it. Probably not even that. But it's like one of the very few things that you can do in the run to actually make it faster, so it's important to do. The downside is, when you do this, like you see I got stuck on that top step like that, that means that I actually messed up. Because you should be able to not get stuck there. And it's surprisingly difficult. At least this time I don't have to worry about it because this last loop you actually are forced into a walking speed. So you can't make that jump anyway. Alright, so that's all the arcade machines. So next we're going to be doing the claw machine. And this is by far the easiest thing we'll do all night. So if you go into the crane machine and you just drop the crane, you'll fail. But if you move it to the right even like one frame, that's enough. So you'll see I just missed it, but I move one little bit over. There you go, there's the tape.
What will it matter? Visions become verbal vomit when you're looking through one-way glass.
Alright, so
I beg thee to shatter such glass.
First off, like I said,
not be
never stay in a
afraid of
haunted
anything.
arcade because you're simping.
It will be the morality of
Definitely don't listen
atrocity that
if the spooky ghost girl then proceeds to tell you that
body is
your
viable.
body
You
is
may
viable
enter
to
into it
climb into an
every
electric
wish.
hole. Why? Why? I mean, I gotta say, if I'm gonna crawl into a hole in the ground, it's definitely not gonna be the one that's visibly going to electrocute me. But maybe that's just me? Alright, coming to the end of Arcade Letra. This area always kind of makes me think of Kingdom Hearts in a weird way. Well, that mixed with the haunted pinball episode of Gravity Falls. Because, like, you've got, like, we're clearly inside the machine. You've got the cables running everywhere. You've got the lights sitting up in the sky. But then you come out to this beach, and it just looks so similar to the Darkness Beach from Kingdom Hearts.
You came for me. I always hoped that you would. Although, I'm sorry.
And unfortunately, now that we're here, it is actually going to be faster for us to stay with the girl instead of try to escape. So
Get to be here.
I guess we get the girl anyway.
I no longer have to be alone. You may cherish this moment in my world as that thing stays in yours. Isn't this trade beautiful?
Alright, come on with the choices.
Come closer.
Alright, now for To the End of Days. This one is kind of a boomer shooter type game. If you've ever played the first Red X Collection, it's a prequel of sorts to Carthonk. And there is going to be quite a lengthy intro sequence here. Oh hey, my computer name. But I'm actually kind of embarrassed by this, but I actually found a way to save about 10 seconds in this game yesterday, and it's really easy. You see, when you first start the game, you're in a motel room, I guess, on the second floor, and you have to go out your door and go down the hallway to the stairs and go down. Except, it turns out, when you leave your door, if you look immediately to your left, the hole over the railing there is slightly larger, and you're able to just jump down from there. Really embarrassed I didn't find that sooner. But it is what it is.
Fuck, here we go.
Also, you move faster when you're in the air, so I'm going to be jumping as often as possible.
We planted the seeds of our miracles.
Oh, right, this is not looking good.
This castle can be far.
Yep, that's a death.
End of the world. Fuck, here we go.
Alright, that's okay, that's pretty early. As long as I can get a good final chapter, I almost always die once in this game anyway. That's how that's supposed to look. Alright, now we're gonna go down the stairs. That's okay, we heal between levels, so as long as I stay alive, I'm good. Gonna continue to jump our way back to our motel room, grab the car keys. But yeah, for the most part, this game is just jumping everywhere and making sure you don't run out of ammo. Alright, there's the first level. One other thing to watch out for is you can get to the end of the level and still die while it's fading to black, and that does count as a death.
Been on the road for what is that thing?
There's also a little bit of randomness involved as far as like if you get hit by the shots. Like there I think I actually got shot a little more than I usually do, but that's okay because I shouldn't get hit for the rest of this level.
I'm gonna have to shoot my way out.
Immediately get hit after I say that. Alright, now we're being chased by our first alien. We're gonna actually see them here in a little bit. There'll be a couple in front of us. But they're basically just wireframes that chase us down and scream at us. Fun stuff. Thankfully, as long as we keep jumping, we're actually faster than them, so we can just safely ignore them. Alright, got our exit coming up on the left. Crawl through the hole, and that's stage 2.
I've made it to freight.
This one's honestly probably the easiest one. Alright. So those aliens don't ever really bother us. It's those first sequence of enemies that are usually the biggest issue. We got through that fine. Now we're coming up to the exit of the level, and here's where you can really easily die after triggering the end. But you can just hide behind the pillar and shoot them as they come, and that's 100% safe. Now this last part, this is the most open to randomness, especially randomness that screws you over. So we'll see how this goes.
My pinky's bigger than your brain.
Alright, looks like we made it. Alright. Good job, good work. That's that. On to Touched by an Outer God. And it's not going to it, so we're going to have to do it ourselves. Every now and then that happens where it won't pull the game up properly and you have to Alt-Tab in. Now this one's a real interesting one as far as the speedrun goes, because you play through this game basically assuming that it's a roguelike where you're defeating these creatures, eating their pieces to upgrade yourself, and continuing on in a battle arena type thing. But it turns out, if you don't upgrade yourself in the first room, none of the other rooms will be locked. So you can just continue to run through as a weak and puny human and just not have to worry about anything. So a general run of this game where you're where you're actually going through the battle sequences, probably about 14-15 minutes. But since we can just run through everything, it only ends up being about 2.5 minutes. There is a little bit of speed boost that you can get if you're lucky. See, if that guy had hit me with his claws as I went past him, that would have boosted me forward and saved maybe a second or two. Now, these hallways, you have to be really careful not to get stuck between an enemy and a wall, or even just pushed into a wall in general, because if your hitbox is touching a wall, it actually causes you to slow down to half speed. Other than that, it's really just run forward to the next door, try to get boosts if you can. Big guy up here might give me a good one, we'll see. Oh, nope, he gave me bad ones. He pushed me back twice, pushed me forward into a wall. Oh, alright. One kind of decent one at the end there. Doesn't make up for anything at all. You're a real pain in my side. Alright. Coming up here though, we're in our last room before the end. So what we've been in search of this whole time is just getting reunited with our father, who is the eminent monster hunter in this universe. So the idea is, if you go through upgrading yourself, you're becoming one of these monsters, and you end up having to fight and kill your father at the end. But here, it's a nice little reunion. Except I can still aggro him by punching him.
You made it in one piece. Well, sort of. Let's go get you patched up, kiddo. You're not the first growth to get a lucky hit in.
And now you hear he's killing me. Did I do it? I did! Alright, so for all intents and purposes, that is the end of that game. But if you aggro him and he kills you as it transitions to the end screen, that is a soft lock. There's actually supposed to be a sequence there that's like, ascend. I'm actually really glad I got that. I mean, it basically means that this run is invalidated, but who cares? It's the fun that counts. Now, this is another walking sim type game, but it's got a really neat twist. In that if you move during this cutscene, you actually do move. And so, normally when you spawn in, your first objective marker is about 24 meters away. If I did this right, I should be within 5 meters. So we'll see how this goes. This is also a really trippy game, so if you're into conspiracies and Haunted Moon, this has got you.
Feeling just fine.
Alright, where's my first one? There we go. Pretty good. Now we're going to use the gravimeter to see how strong the gravitational pull is of the landmass below us. The general idea for this is the higher the reading, the denser the ground below you. And we're looking for a lava tube, so they're saying, which would be a hollow section of the Earth, or the Moon. So we're looking for the lowest reading we can possibly get, and we end up finding much lower reading than we ever wanted.
Definitely some sort of subsurface feature. 20.26 north, 30.8.
Alright, this will be, I believe, our last gravimeter reading. So if I were to break this game into sequences, this would be sequence 1, Sequence 2 would happen as soon as we realize that something weird is going on. It'll be after our first rationalization. That's right, we have one more. After our first rationalization, a tragic event happens that we will not speak of. Shout out to the eyeball on the moon there. Also, if you look closely at the gravimeter graphic, you'll see that eye here, blinking behind me. There you go. Grab the wrong one. There we go. Take it. The rationalizations like that, where they bounce, it's random every time. Sometimes you can get a really good bounce and just get it right into that slot real quick and easy. Other times it's an absolute nightmare. Oh no.
Do you have a second real fast Shmumbler for us to do a little plug?
Yes, go ahead. Anytime.
Alright. Hey, horrible games watchers, we're just going to remind you guys that this is a charity event. Even though we've blown our expectations for the donations, this is still a charity event. Currently we raised a goal to $450. We're currently at 410, so if you guys would still like to participate, just do !donate, or just wait for the timed message to come up. Additionally, we are almost done with the marathon, and we are really enjoying your run so far, Shmumbler.
Thank you. Alright, so
I'm gonna
we
let you
got...
get back to it.
Alright, thanks. So that was actually a really good bounce there. So that was the tragic event that you just witnessed. Our crew did end up crashing into the moon and everybody died. And that's where I would say the second sequence starts, where you're kind of blindly wandering the moon's surface. You're supposed to be using the gravimeter to move in the direction of the most negative reading. But it turns out that the game doesn't really care about that, it only cares about how far you've gone. So if you just keep walking forward, you end up magically finding your way to that staircase anyway. And now we're just going to be going down stairs and more stairs for a little while. As far as the speedrun goes, this is a slow part, but pretty tense for a casual play. And as far as why that rationalization was so good, you saw when they popped out that they all had those little triangles on them. And you actually have to smash it against the walls to make those triangles pop off so you can use that rationalization. It's always weird to say that as a noun. But just the way it bounced when it spawned, it knocked off 2, almost 3 of the triangles. So I really only had to throw it against the wall once to make it usable. Sometimes I'll end up having to throw it 3 or 4 times. Alright, only got one more loop on the stairs. And if you liked that hand, you're gonna love the foot that we'll see later. Here in a few seconds. I'm going to try to keep the flashlight pointed in this direction because it should be up in this corner here. Also, if you've played any other Daniel Mullins games, apparently there is a chance to see some of those characters pop up in this game randomly. I have not had any of them show up for me, but it is a thing apparently. Oh, there's the foot. Alright, we're gonna have one last rationalization, and it's gonna be not very fun. They're all gonna be the same image, and they're gonna be flying everywhere, but there's only one that'll fit. There we go, got it. That wasn't too bad. Huh. Radio. What's going on with that radio? So there's Solipsis. Now for the thing in the lake, which is hands down the hardest game in this collection. If you can't tell, this one is made by the same developer as World of Horror. And boy, is it just brutal. Alright, so I play on story mode for two reasons, really. It lowers the frequency that the killers spawn, because the way that the killers in this game work is they're actually on a timer. Or one of them is. The other thing is it actually gives me slightly more stamina, which only ends up saving like 2 seconds, because for the most part I'm running without the stamina. Okay, and here I'm going to stop and wait till I hit 5 stamina so that I can do a nice little skip here where I go and get the crowbar and come back through the grass before that killer despawns. Otherwise, if you go through the grass, it triggers him to come and chase you. So that's a nifty way of not having to walk all the way around to grab that. That's one of the few screens where we'll just go through the grass anyway because it's faster to do so and it's typically pretty safe in that instance. I think I've only actually gotten caught by the killer there once or twice. Alright, coming close to the end of chapter 2 as well. Like the first one, this is going to be a scripted death. We're going to step into a bear trap. And so I'm just going to put my mouse in place to hopefully start chapter 3 as soon as this is over. Alright, and this is, in my opinion, the hardest chapter. Mostly for this next screen. Alright, hopefully I didn't go too slow by accidentally opening the inventory there. Oh, I absolutely did. Okay, so we're going to bait him out there. Otherwise, he very well could have... I hit it! That's why I hate chapter 3. That bear trap right there. It's so hard to dodge. Alright, so this time I didn't open up my inventory like a moron, so I should be able to go through here without him spawning. Right? Avoid the grass so that we don't trigger the other killer. We're safely through there. You're kidding. This game is absolutely brutal. And technically I can safely go through the grass here because the killer doesn't move fast enough at this point. But if you do that, you actually go through the screen transition too soon, and the next time that the gorilla spawns is at the exit that you're needing to go through there, and that traps you, and it's not good. Anyhow, we're going to come up to the hotel that we just walked out of in chapter 2 to grab, I want to say, this is the candle? And then we're going to take a small gamble. Sometimes you can get caught here, sometimes you don't. Shoot. So that time was one where I would have gotten caught. But we survived, so that's all that matters. Last chapter. Now we are playing a silent, odd-looking fellow trying to finish a ritual, and it turns out, seeing as we're going to get the bad ending and you're not going to see any of this anyway, turns out this gorilla and the other killer are actually this guy's family, and his wife is dead, so they're actually working to perform a ritual, a sacrificial ritual, to bring his wife back to life. What you would normally be doing in this chapter is collecting all the body parts so that you can create a human effigy and sacrifice that for the wife. However, since we don't have the time to go collect all of those parts, we're going to offer ourselves instead. Alright, we're gonna play a little bit of Ring Around the Rosie with the ape here. And there's the thing in the lake. Alright, so we've had some longer games now. How about we get a little bit of a break from that? Something a little quick, a little simple. This is an interactive text adventure game that we are going to completely break the internal logic of. So there's a few chapters that unfold throughout this. You can actually explore all of these too. There's some pictures and some sound files in there that you can find. But what we're interested in is getting to that black screen with the red text and just mashing enter. What that actually ends up doing is it takes you to the second to last sequence of red text, putting you right before the end of the entire game. But if you're not careful, it can soft lock here. So what I do to avoid that is, you see I have this chat popped up in the background. Having that chat active actually helps prevent the game from soft locking for some reason. Not really sure why. But once we get through this sequence, it'll ask us, well, you'll get to see sexy.png, and then it will ask us a series of 3 questions. Until then, it's just picking the answer choices that give us the smallest response. Alright, just click a bunch here. Last 3 questions. Doesn't matter what you answer here. Okay, close out of that, and that's the game. Alright, now let's go to the diving bell. This one, personally, is my favorite to run out of the collection, which I guess should be obvious, considering I'll be doing a soap percent run after this. But this one actually has a decent amount of out of bounds and clipping. And if you've ever seen my homecoming runs, that's something I'm quite partial to. Now, I will go ahead and apologize here before I start. This does use the keyboard. I apologize. But basically the idea here is to type as quickly as possible so that we skip as many of these mechanical failures as possible. I did get an extra one there, so that was about 2 or 3 seconds slower than optimum. But for the most part, I'm actually pretty pleased with the speed of that. Alright, so now our boiler is down, so we gotta go check it out, see what's wrong. So we're gonna clip into the table here, which puts us into the ground. And I went too far. Pop up back in grounds. Take the stairs up. There's the boiler, but we can't fix it yet because it turns out the problem is a broken fuse. So we gotta go find one from, where else? The communications room. You don't keep fuses in a communication room? Alright. Grab that. You'll see I'm crouch running. It's not really faster, but it does let me go through these doors as soon as they open. Alright, pop the fuse in here. Press the button. We're done with that. Now, I want to make sure to close this door behind me because I have to come back up. And the interstitial is a double door. Much easier to just have to go through it once instead of twice. So, now we typed a little more in our log, and now our distress signal is not working right. So we gotta go fix that by going back to the comms room. So see, if I hadn't closed it behind me, that first door would be closed, and I would have to close the inside door, then close the outside door, then close the inside door again. And that would just be a mess. Anyone play Among Us? Alright, now we're going to jump over the rail and finish the day. Alright, day 2. Today we're going to have issues with our generator. So we're going to come back in here, use this table to clip out again, except this time we're going to come over here, type in 1890, restart generators 3 and 1. But when we do 1, we're going to have a nice little scare here. But ignore that. We have to continue looking at the screen because when everything goes back to normal, you cannot exit unless you are looking at the computer screen. Now we got to come back up here and restart the transformers in a specific order. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to clip through the railing here, then use this axe box to clip into the floor, right back into our log room, and finish our daily log. And that was actually really slow, but that's okay, because we're on the last day. And now on this day, we don't have to type at all. Instead, we're supposed to be repairing our wetsuit and coming out to the diving bell to see what in the world has been going on all this time. But who needs a suit when you can just clip through the window? Okay, go under, go over, come over here, and hit the end trigger. Pills for sanity, just in case. You can die before the big bad shows up. But once he shows up like this, you're safe. Wait for the sound to cut. And that's diving bell. Alright, so that leaves this guy. Came back for it last. Now I will say this is usually about 8 minutes, so at this point we are going to be very close to the estimate. May go over a little bit. Also, if there's any more plugs that need to be done or any donations that have come in during the run, you can feel free to cut me off at any time here, because this is going to be like 2 or 3 minutes of repeat for everyone.
Oop. No donations just yet. Just want to remind everybody that this is still a charity stream, and that if you'd like to donate, do !donate.
Maybe I should have picked Marty since Janet got us soft-locked. Oh well. But yeah, just taking a nice relaxing stroll. Getting a weird sense of deja vu. And at least if there's one thing that I can say, if this run does go over estimate, it's only going to be over estimate by about a minute or so. And so percent does not take 10 minutes. I can promise that. And I do really wish that I could figure out a way to manipulate the camera to go to the side a little bit though, so that I could diagonal zag my way through here. That would be the ideal thing to find for this game. And I've even done timed runs where I'm going back and forth like this. You would think that it would slow down your forward movement, but no, it's exactly the same. At least I get to show off the torch walk again. Just make sure not to pick up the note. Don't pick up the note, we're all good. It's too bad I don't have any crypt facts like I had squirrel facts. Well, I guess I could bring up the fact that each and every one of you do in fact have a spooky, scary skeleton within you. Alright, we're pretty much back to where we were. Just make sure not to hit E when I come upon any notes, and we'll be good. Also, it's funny how there's dialogue that you can just walk through, and then other dialogue that routes you to the spot. Alright, we passed the note, we're good. Everything's going to be perfect from here on out. Definitely not going to get stuck on anything as I try to navigate this without any visibility. It's okay. That's what we've got these unlit torches for. Now this is actually our first introduction to the conquistador skeletons that will try to chase us down and kill us. Fortunately for us, they are very slow. And I mean incredibly slow. Alright, come up to the wall here and pull out our pickaxe again. Speaking of which, if you're wondering why I never pulled the torch out, that's why. I knew that I would have to use the pickaxe again, and switching tools takes about 3 seconds. Now we gotta knock down these pillars, and this is actually a deceptively difficult area just because of the controls. These pillars are not very wide, and it's very easy to just walk right off. After all, we're moving with 8 directional movements, and some of these turns do not, or angles do not take kindly to 8 directional movement. But we made it through, no deaths. Gonna go ahead and pull out the torch because we are going to need it up ahead. We're also gonna come across some more skeletons up here, but like I said, they are very slow. So we are going to dodge them by conveniently moving forward. Alright, bye. And I know we already met God, but let's just cut this guy some slack. He wants to be called God too, so we'll let him. Personally, I don't think he's got anything over the other one. Right now here, during that cutscene, you can actually start moving again already, so went ahead and did that. If you're really lucky, those skeletons actually just won't even spawn for some reason. Oh no. Janet. How could they? So here's the twist in the story. Like I said earlier, your perspective is actually coming from the cameraman, who in this case is Marty. So Nancy's dead. We are now Marty. Not Nancy, Janet. Janet's dead. Now we are Marty. So now we have gone from second person to first person and gone from weird kind of, I don't know what to call them, controls to tank controls. But at this point, it's just knowing the path to the exit, knowing your lines. It is actually possible to get stuck on some corners in here, but it's usually not too big of an issue. Alright. Just a little bit farther to go and we'll be free. By the way, do we have any Star Wars fans? Because y'all might find this a little familiar. So it's great that you mentioned the chanting, because I completely forgot to mention, if you listen to what they're actually saying the exact same things that the Ganados say in Resident Evil 4, except it's Torpelduk saying them and not actually reusing those assets. Alright, that one's done. And that's the last game, so let's go down to the mirror, and time will be when the little autosave icon shows in the bottom right hand corner. And time. 12 seconds overestimate by my count. What did we get on your side?
We actually got the same time, 142.12. You were at 142.12.99.
Great. Just overestimate, even though we had to play a game twice.
I mean, that's not that bad, honestly, for having to play twice.
Yeah, no. There were definitely some rough patches, but some of those games went really well, and I think Sucker for Love, I actually beat my PB on that one.
Really? That's actually cool, to be honest.